if you notice that you are self-sabotaging, like you are always giving into those cravings, you are just never following through on that plan that you laid out in the moment, it's likely because you're avoiding discomfort. Hello, friends, and welcome back to the Sweat Simple podcast. My name is Brooks Herbis, and I'm an online fitness, nutrition, and mindset coach who's here to help you simplify and make sense out of the all too confusing fitness and nutrition industry. Let's be real, there's a lot of conflicting information online, and it can be hard to know what's legit and who to trust. In every episode, I'll be sharing the science and psychology behind health, fitness, and long-lasting behavior change. But I'll also be sharing real-life practical application, because all of the best info in the world only matters if you can actually apply it to your real life. So grab a coffee, water, glass of wine, or lace up your walking shoes, and let's dive in. Hello, you guys. Welcome back to the Sweat Simple podcast. And before we even dive in, I just want to thank you guys for all of the feedback on last week's episode about going off of hormonal birth control. Like I talked about in the episode, that was a little bit more personal, a little bit more vulnerable than I typically get on this podcast. So I really appreciate everyone who reached out, who let me know that you resonated or the podcast was helpful. It's always nice. I feel personally like I am speaking directly to you guys, but it's nice to hear back from you too and get that feedback and know that there are other people on the other side of this microphone. So if ever, you have feedback or something you want to hear more of on the podcast, please don't hesitate to reach out. I love connecting with you guys. That is my number one reason why I like what I do. I'm not someone who just wants to put out information and, hope someone's listening to it. I really like connecting with you guys, helping you as much as I can. So if there's ever anything that you want to chat with a little bit more, please don't ever hesitate to shoot me a DM, shoot me an email, and I'd love to hear from you guys further. But today we are talking about something really that I personally love. It is a strategy to manage discomfort called surfing the urge. So if you are someone who struggles with getting the urge to eat, or you find that you never really follow through on these plans that you lay out for yourself, whether it's with a social event or a meal plan or, even just like that nighttime snacking, if you have a really hard time following through with those things, this episode is going to be for you. And you might be thinking like, this is a health and fitness podcast. What the heck does managing discomfort have to do with wanting to lose fat and just like wanting to be a little bit healthier? And the answer is a lot. If you notice that you are self-sabotaging, like you are always giving into those cravings, you are just never following through on that plan that you laid out in the moment, it's likely because you're avoiding discomfort. And you guys, this is human nature. Like we are conditioned to avoid threats, and feeling uncomfortable is a threat. So maybe it's not that saber-toothed tiger that used to be chasing us back in caveman days, but this uncomfortable feeling, that feeling of hunger, that feeling of not belonging at a social event, that feeling of stress, those are all uncomfortable feelings. Whether you're sad, bored, like I said, left out at a social event, those are all feelings of discomfort. And your body wants to protect you. It wants to help you avoid this discomfort. So instead of sitting in that uncomfortable feeling, instead of like feeling the discomfort, most of us give into that quick dopamine hit of the short-term soothe, rather than being able to take a pause and think about our long-term goals. And for a lot of us, if you're listening to this podcast, if you struggle with that nighttime urge to eat or never following through on your plan, that quick dopamine hit, that soothe that you're going for, it's probably related to food. This does show up in other areas. Just to give a personal example for me, I tend to manage my anxiety with work of all things. So when I am sitting on my couch and I'm like wanting to relax and I get that like urge to like go and check something on my laptop or get that urge to work, I know that that's actually just me trying to avoid my anxiety. That's just me trying to avoid the discomfort. So this doesn't always show up with food. Like I said, for me, I notice that I tend to try to soothe with work. So But if you're listening to this podcast, it probably is happening with food. But this is a strategy that you can use in a lot of different areas. So it could be with managing your anxiety through work or whatever it might be. But if you are trying to lose fat or you're trying to change your behaviors in general, you've probably realized that giving into this short-term comfort isn't helping you long term. Like constantly giving into your cravings, constantly throwing out your plan out the window. It's not helping you be consistent. And I actually recently had a one-on-one coaching client who was struggling with this. And in fact, this is something I work with a lot of my clients on because it's human nature. We all do this to some degree. Like I said, my example was with work. We all are doing this to some degree, but this client in particular would create these like really amazing, robust meal plans, but she was having a really hard time following through with them because anytime she got stressed, she felt overwhelmed, or a coworker wanted to go and get food somewhere, she would ditch her plan and go for the short-term soothe. She didn't want to feel left out. She didn't want to feel stressed. So instead of sitting in that discomfort, she would immediately pivot and give into that urge. And now she's able to not do that anymore. She's able to sit in the temporary discomfort, those uncomfortable emotions, and she's able to make decisions that are more in line with her goals. So how did we get her there? And how can you start to sit in this discomfort? Like with all behavior change, that first step is awareness. We need to understand why you're doing that behavior in the first place. What is really triggering it? What is really causing you to throw in the plan, to eat the food, to go for the wine? In those moments, you find yourself getting that urge to eat or drink or whatever it is, make a decision that's not in line with your long-term goals, I want you to get curious. What's happening in those moments? Is it that you had a really stressful meeting at work? Is it that you're at happy hour and everyone else is getting a drink? Or I know for a lot of my clients who are moms, at the end of the day, they get the urge to snack or drink because they just want a moment to relax. Are you just really tired after work and that drive-through is calling your name? What are you really thinking, feeling, experiencing in the moments that you give into the urge? So in those previous examples, it may be the stress of work that's causing you to have this trigger, this urge to eat. It may be the feeling of feeling left out. You just want to feel like you belong. So you order a drink, even though you said that you didn't. It might just be general feelings of overwhelm. Whatever this emotion is that you're feeling, it's really acting as an internal activator. It's causing a lack of self-control. It's causing you to give into that short-term comfort. So what's really great about understanding and taking a pause to realize, where is this coming from? When am I getting this urge? What is triggering that urge? Now that we know what's happening, we can work to not give into it every single time. So the goal that we're working towards is that over time, instead of acting on this urge and this like desire to remove the discomfort, we just want to explore the thoughts and feelings that are coming up. This is where surfing the urge comes in. It's the idea that instead of acting immediately on the urge, instead of like going towards the snack pantry, instead of pouring that glass of wine, instead of immediately ordering the drink when everyone else is, you're going to use mindfulness practices to notice the urge and ride it like a wave. So we're surfing the urge. We are riding it like a wave. Now, the goal of this is not to get rid of the feelings. We're not trying to dismiss them. That's not the point. We're just learning to sit in the discomfort. We're just learning that a little bit of discomfort is okay. And sitting in the discomfort is how we grow. And every time we have an uncomfortable feeling, we don't need to immediately get rid of it. And the more that we can realize that we're still alive and we're doing okay when we sit in the discomfort, the easier it becomes. And the longer you'll be able to ride this wave, and hopefully we'll get to that point where we're no longer even acting on this urge. So what could this brief pause look like? It could look like truly just a pause. We are just taking a few minutes to explore these emotions. It could look like mindful breathing exercises. It could look like something else completely, something else that makes you feel relaxed or that helps soothe that emotion that you're experiencing. So really just take the pause to notice the feeling, notice how it comes and goes, and start to notice when and if it varies in severity. So when it's less severe, what's changed? So for example, if we go back to that like social event example, you're at your company happy hour, you notice that you have an urge to order a drink because everyone else is, but that urge goes away more quickly, or that urge isn't quite as loud. What was happening in that situation that made it less severe than it typically was? Maybe your one coworker who pressures you all the time isn't there. Maybe you ordered a glass of water first and you felt okay with that. You felt okay as you sat in the discomfort. Start to notice when it feels less severe, because we hopefully want to do more of those things to be able to ride the wave for longer. And when this becomes less and less severe, when the urge is less severe in general, eventually it's going to go away. And that's what we want. The goal is that as we're sitting in these feelings, as we're riding the wave, we are really realizing like this is not the end of the world. These feelings may not be enjoyable. We might not like sitting in this comfort. We might feel a little bit awkward sipping on our water when everyone else is sipping on our wine, or we might feel a little awkward when we're just sitting and reading our book and not having that quick crunchy snack, but you're still surviving. You're still here. You didn't die. And that is really what we want. We want to understand like discomfort is normal. We are going to feel uncomfortable, but that uncomfortable feeling isn't something that we need to immediately act on. Now, I do want to set expectations, and I want you guys to keep in mind that you won't necessarily be successful at this right away. If you are used to always giving into the urge and never sitting in these uncomfortable feelings, it's going to feel hard at first. And there might be some days where you are able to sit in the uncomfortable feelings, and there might be other days where you're not able to. What we want to do is just keep practicing this over and over and over. We're really just trying to put in the reps so that eventually we do know with full confidence that we can sit in the uncomfortable feelings. And we do know that we don't have to give in to every single urge. So just practice it. Allow yourself to be a beginner at this. Allow yourself to feel uncomfortable and allow yourself to not be perfect. The goal is that over time, like I said, we're giving into that urge less and less, or even we're able to surf the urge for longer. So we're able to, wait 20 minutes before we give into the urge as opposed to like immediately. So that's really what we're just trying to do. We're trying to create more distance. We're trying to make the urge less severe. And then eventually we want to get to the point where we are no longer giving into it in general. But even though we're not going to be perfect, even though it's going to feel really hard at first, I want you guys to just start to try. Just start to see how it feels to sit in those uncomfortable feelings. And you may notice that this gets easier as time goes on. And hopefully it does, because that is the end goal, is that we just keep working on this and it keeps getting easier as time goes on. So to summarize, avoiding discomfort, it's human nature, you guys. We don't want to feel these uncomfortable emotions, but if we do want to grow, if we want to change our habits, we do need to learn to sit in the discomfort instead of always giving in to these short-term urges. So surfing the urge can be one way to start to do this, and eventually getting to the point where we are riding this urge for longer and longer instead of immediately just trying to soothe that uncomfortable feeling. So start to notice when you're giving into these urges, when they're coming up, what you're feeling in these moments, and then challenge yourself to just sit and ride the emotions until the urge lessens. So that's all I've got for you guys today. But don't forget that I pick one person who leaves a review or shares these episodes in their stories every single month to win a free health and fitness nutrition audit with me. Those are always announced at the end of the month. So I so appreciate you guys leaving reviews, sharing this in your stories. It really helps this podcast grow so that I can help more people. But thank you guys so much for being here. I always appreciate it. And I will talk to you all next week.